Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Reimagine 2021 version 10. This is our 10th edition anniversary event. So we've been doing these virtual conference events for a whole year now. We've done over 500 interviews. Check it out on our YouTube channel at Reimagine 2020. I'm your host, Roshan Mirajkar, and I'm very excited to bring you a new guest here today. So with me here today, I have Manu Alzuru, who is the founder at DoinGud. Manu, welcome to the Reimagine show. Very interested to speak to you here today. And I think, just to get started, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the blockchain and crypto space.
Yeah, that's actually a very long story. Well, for sure, I'll tell you a little bit. So yeah, Manu, I'm originally from Venezuela. I don't believe in imaginary lines that divide humanity. And I've been, trying to understand how we can create more inclusive technology. Initially, I started working in the internet when I was a kid. At the age of 8, I got my first computer. At the age of 12, more or less, I started creating websites. I was importing stuff from the US and also from Europe and selling it back in Venezuela. And as you can imagine, in Venezuela, there's nothing available. So whatever you sell there, actually, it's pretty easy, to just sell stuff. So yeah, that's how I spent my years during university. After that, I got my diploma as a mechanical engineer. Then when I got my diploma, I got an offer to work at Schlumberger, one of the largest oil companies in the world. And well, as you know, in at least in Latin America and other countries, families, they always push you to be an engineer, a doctor, or pretty much you're no one. And like I had in my mind, I had to be part of a big company, big corporation in order to be successful. So yeah, I actually accepted the offer, joined Schlumberger, and I started working as a field engineer looking for petroleum. Very quickly realized that I hated the whole thing after 10 months. Yeah, so as you know, Venezuela is a very corrupt place. So I realized how corrupt we are as humans and how we're exploiting our earth, how we're exploiting other humans as well, and not really distributing value to the people that need it. As you know, Venezuela is actually one of the most rich countries, or maybe the richest country in the world in terms of natural resources. But that makes it the poorest country in the world right now, because there's so many elites and so many groups that are actually trying to take everything away from the Venezuelans, and actually the Venezuelans, the real people, are not really receiving anything from it. Even though all the companies are nationalized pretty much. So yeah, I realized that this wasn't the place that I wanted to be, and I actually decided to leave. And when I decided to leave, there were a lot of political problems back at home. So I was an activist as well, trying to fight for freedom of speech, and also for private property, because the government there actually expropriated assets from my family. So then, yeah, I got into trouble with the government actually, and I had to leave the country, and I came to Europe. When I came to Europe, I started designing websites again, and then after that, I got hired by Rocket Internet. Rocket Internet is one of the largest venture builders in the world. They created Groupon, Rappi, Zalando, and multi-billion-dollar companies around the world. And what they do is they copy business models and they bring them to new geographies, whether it's in Latin America, Southeast Asia, Africa. And I was hired for the African market. I started working at an organization called Jumia. Jumia became the largest marketplace in Africa. And basically, it's a combination of multiple type of marketplaces like Amazon, eBay, Uber, Uber.com, Uber Eats, I'm sorry, and a couple of other more all under the same brand. And yeah, I quickly realized, well, not quickly, but after 2 years, realized that beta is a new type of oil, and that we were essentially, again, exploiting other humans around the world by using this new resource, which was data. And that's when I decided to leave after working there for over 2 years. And I started doing other stuff, like working with a company from Microsoft and AXA, the insurance company, that was creating something that I thought was more human, which was essentially connecting patients and doctors using machine learning, and just enabling, doctors and patients to connect in an easier way. I was a CMO at that organization for over 2 years. And then a very good friend of mine at that time was working with color coins, and then Ethereum came out, and was these friends started working with the smart contracts, and yeah, and then I met someone else in Berlin who really got me into the space when he showed me that you could transact without having a middleman. Like, you could just send a transaction to a smart contract. Another person would send us another transaction to the smart contract, and then the smart contract would swap the assets. And that blew my mind. Like, there was no person, no company in the middle. It was just a smart contract swapping things. That's when I say, oh, wow, this is amazing. I need to enter the space. So I left my previous job, and I started to investigate how we could potentially, create more solutions that could be more democratize, access to investing, or access to ownership. And that's when I started to explore how we could bring real world access to the chain. And the first thing that I started to do was tokenizing real estate, tokenizing venture funds and venture capital with a European legal framework. I was part of this organization that tokenized multiple assets. But after a while, I realized that essentially we were creating tools only for elites. Why? It was because it was only available for accredited investors. And that's when I decided to leave and to focus on what I thought was going to be the next big thing. And that's, for me, DAOs. I've been working in the DAO space for the last 2 years and a half. One of the first members of the Meta Cartel DAO, also a mentor at the DAO, and as well been one of the founding members of API 3 DAO, which is currently one of the largest DAO by its treasury. And yeah, that's basically how I've been, doing the space. Also been, collaborating with different entrepreneurs, helping them out when it comes to governance, when it comes to token economics, and also when it comes to marketing and product efforts. And yeah, that's a little bit about me. Regarding DoinGud, the way that I got started was actually after ECC last year. I actually got COVID. And when I got COVID, I came back to my new home. As I told you, I'm traveling around. I'm a nomad. So I came to a new home, and I found myself without any help. Like, I didn't have any friends or anything that could help me out with Corona. And essentially what I did was that I wrote a paper. I wrote a paper about this issue that I was having. And that's when I decided to do something about it. And we created a platform called Five Pandemics. Five Pandemics was FivePandemics.com was a social media platform for connecting those in need of help with those who can provide help. And the crazy thing is that we created the whole platform without raising one single US dollar. We created the platform in over 30 languages, and people from all over the world contributed to the creation of the platform. Over 8,000 people applied to create this platform, and over 1,800 we accepted and contributed minimum 10 hours. The whole platform was created with volunteers from all over the world. And the idea was to create a social DAO. We were accounting for all the contributions that people were making. And also we had something that we call impact hours. So we were kind of measuring the impact that everyone was bringing to the organization. And yeah, and very quickly realized that most of the people don't really understand human capital and social capital. They only understand financial capital. And that's when we decided to start working on DoinGud by using, financial capital to stream money to social causes that could potentially be doing something good for humanity. And yeah, that's how the idea came up.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your exciting personal story. And I think every step of the way you kind of kept your same ethos, and that's what kind of led you to what you're building right now. And I think it's such a great theme, right? Blockchain for social good, blockchain for good. I think it's easy to forget sometimes that there's more use cases than just art or just improving the technology itself, right? At the end of the day, a lot of people are pitched that it's going to make people's lives better. So definitely want to talk about that a little more. Like, so how does it sort of work on your platform in terms of how do you combine NFTs and social goods? Is it more about companies and
Yeah.
organizations proving that certain transaction happened, or is it like for the end person?
No, actually, the platform has already built into the whole business model. Let's say social good, and you might be asking how. Okay, so what we do here is that we put a minimum of 5% that goes to a social cause that the creator cares about. So every time a creator express themselves in the platform, whether it's with a video, with a picture, or with a meme, or hopefully in the future even with content writing, basically they tokenize that, and a percentage will go to a social cause that they want to support. So it's kind of like creating a symbiotic relationship between social good organization or social causes with the creator. And yeah, and basically the creator can decide if it's 5% or if it's 95% that they want to give, or if they want to give everything away. So we're just enabling the creators to give to things that they care about. And essentially the way that is done is everything on chain. So all the transactions are visible and transparent, so we can know that a creator for real is actually giving back to the community or giving back to a social cause. The social organizations that we need to pass KYC and KYB in order to be accepted in the registry. And hopefully at some point, once we launch the DAO, we are collectively going to curate and decide who are those social impact organizations that should be in the registry. And the idea is not to spread thing among multiple social organizations, but actually trying to direct the most amount of funds to those that are actually creating huge impact. How we're going to do it? Well, that's where the collective intelligence comes in, and the DAO comes in. The DAO is the one deciding how we should be curating this registry, and how the creators should be supporting their social causes. Maybe the DAO decides that it shouldn't be 5% the minimum that creators should be giving. Maybe the DAO says, okay, it should be 2.5%, or maybe the DAO says it should be 10 or 20%. But the initial parameters that we as a team are coming up is 5%, that goes to every social cause that the creator wants to support.
That's actually pretty interesting. I've never heard someone say that it's kind of baked into the protocol. And while you were talking, it made me think of another question, which is, how do you think this will affect the current organizations we have out there right now that are centralized, that focus on charities, but it's not very transparent. So do you think in the future that somebody will be more willing to donate to an organization if they adopt something like this, that's on chain? Like on chain, you can see exactly what proceeds are going somewhere. Like, do you think that these organizations like the Red Cross and others will adopt something like this, or do you think they'll just use blockchain for settlement of the transactions?
I personally believe that our society is becoming more and more transparent. And people want, what they want is transparency. And most of the time people don't donate to social causes because they are not really transparent with their funds. So I definitely think that transparency is going to increase the amount that people give. So if charities and nonprofits and NGOs start using blockchain technology for showing how they're using their funds and how efficient the use of those funds are, I think is going to give more credibility and also more confidence to people that want to donate and want to give. So I definitely think that it's going to be game changer. Um, and yeah, it's going to have a huge impact.
Yeah, it would certainly make the world a better place for sure. And for the our viewers watching, I think the main concept is, everyday people, they might not even know they're using blockchain technology in the future. But something that's been very popular right now has been like blockchain powered games, not just like in real, like exchanging assets, but I think there's a game, Axie, that everyone is playing right now, that went up a lot. And a lot of people are talking about the concept of, people playing a blockchain based game and then earning rewards around the country, and also having games, help with social causes. So what do you think is the future of that? Like, do you think gaming
Yeah.
is also, can help out
Oh,
this
for
whole
sure.
situation?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think the future of work is gaming. Actually, like where you are playing, where you're doing what you love, and you earn by doing what you love. And I don't necessarily mean like fighting monsters or doing that type of stuff. I believe in a game where you actually contribute any type of talent that you have, because every human has something to contribute, has something to give back. And what I'm seeing is that thanks to DAOs and this technology, everyone has something to give. Whether if you're technical or not technical, we all have something to give to these type of communities. As simple as taking notes in one community that could make a huge change. But what I'm trying to say with this is that I think in the future, like the creation experience or the contribution experience for different organizations is going to be gamified. It's going to be a game. And it's kind of like already happening. Like there are protocols that the more you contribute, actually the more you earn in the protocol. So it's kind of like already a game in a way. It might not be fun and an interactive game, but I think it's gonna blend very soon. The metaverse type of interactions that you have with the real world, let's say, work. um, at least that's what I believe. That there's going to be a combination between the two worlds, and it's happening already. I'm already seeing it.
Well, that certainly sounds like a better future, if we could all, do what we're passionate about, and every, kind of everything that you're contributing could kind of be part of something larger. And that's why I find DAOs really interesting. And I think you have a lot of experience with DAOs, obviously, and they're still formulating. Everyone is sort of figuring it out. So, what can you tell us from your experience? Like, what are you most bullish on that you think DAOs will either replace or disrupt right now?
Honestly, I think everything is going to be a DAO. Like any type of organization is going to be a DAO in a way or in another. What does a DAO mean to me? Is collective value, share value, whether it's monetary value, but it could be also any type of other value that is not necessarily monetary as well. Um, just like being part of a group where there's experiences or whatever. So in my opinion, everything is going to go towards having or using DAO technology in order to become more transparent with the community and with all the users and so on. The most exciting part for me about DAOs is DAOs being used for public funding and for creating a better world. And how is that? Well, as I said before, like every time that money, like if we think about money, money was supposed to be a way to represent the contributions that you're making to society, and you should be rewarded with money, right? If you're contributing a lot to society. But we know that money is corrupt in the way that it works right now. So we collectively, we're creating new types of money or new types of value that are not necessarily as tangible as money, but it's value that we can account for and that we can accrue. So I think that DAOs are going to really change and shift the way that we see value, the way that we understand value, and also, the way that we create value for a better world.
Yeah, certainly the decision-making hierarchy suddenly changes. So the focus is on value creation. And, I think another element that everyone is discussing, kind of related more so to DeFi, but also maybe NFTs a bit too, everything is converging, is basically governance, right? So, let's talk, can you tell me a little bit about what are you currently doing with your community at DoinGud, and do you see a future where your own community could have some governance power and maybe delegating
for sure.
where the
For
funds get diverted? Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. So currently we are, let's say, we're an organization that is at the very beginning, right? So we are kind of like taking all of the decisions on how the protocol should be like. So we are firmly believers in the progressive decentralization model. We don't think that you can launch something and that is going to be decentralized at the very beginning, like by by a gift of the nature. No, it's a process. It's something that we need to work for. And also decentralization is not a 0 to 1 thing. It's actually a spectrum. Like it's never ending. Decentralization never ends. The more you look from outside, the more you see centralized or more single points of failure. So I think that our sense of decentralization is also changing as our consciousness is also changing. And I say something very often, which is as well, that our sense of fairness is also evolving with our consciousness. So yeah, right now, just to come back to your question regarding DoinGud, right now we are a group of people. We're 6 people that came together, decided to fund this organization. We have stewards that are essentially taking care of all the different teams. But the idea is to launch this governance token and enable anyone that is actually contributing to the community to have a say and a vote in the progress of the DAO. Also, we plan to do something that we call marketplace liquidity mining. So every time that there's a transaction happening in the platform, we can reward the creator, the collector, and also the gallery that is hosting the sale. So like that, essentially the users become owners of the platform that they're using. And that's kind of like the idea here on this progressive decentralization, to a point that obviously we want to distribute, to distribute to everyone that is actually contributing to the growth of the organization itself.
Definitely, and we've seen this model be very successful with things like Uniswap and others, where when the airdrop happened, people were rewarded handsomely. I think that's the way it should go. I think Coinbase should have done that too when they went IPO. But we're here talking about something pretty important right now, which is NFTs, and looking at the use cases beyond that. So related to NFTs, do you think that NFTs will stay static, or can they also be dynamic in the future where you'll have changing NFTs? Like, is that something you're going to encourage on your platform?
I think there's going to be multiple cases for NFTs. There's going to be NFTs for proof of attendance. There's going to be NFTs for, let's say, accomplishing something within a community, or maybe receiving a diploma in a university, or maybe just a land registry. Those might not necessarily be dynamic. But there might be other type of NFTs that might be dynamic. There might be NFTs that are plugged to off-chain data. For example, let's say one NFT that it changed the background. If it's raining in the real world, maybe it's going in a specific city. Maybe the NFT is also going to start in the background to start raining, or maybe it's gonna have like different phases. Like maybe during the winter it's gonna look different, and maybe during the summer it's gonna look different. So yeah, we can have NFTs that are always mutating and always changing, depending on off-chain data, but also we can use and we can create NFTs that might be mutating based on interactions that you do within the platform, for example. Basically, you can have an NFT that can become kind of like your avatar that is, upgrading itself. The more, let's say, knowledge you get, or the more points you get in something, it might be changing. So yeah, it's just the very beginning for NFTs, and I think there's going to be multiple type of NFTs. I don't think that all of them are going to be dynamic. That's for sure. I think there's obviously a use case for static NFTs. But yeah, I'm actually super interested in what people are coming up with. There's a lot of innovation there. There's also even NFTs that have layers, and that one person can own one ledger, another person can own another ledger, and actually can swap the ledgers, and they can collectively create a piece, which I also find super interesting. Or there's even an NFT that was released by Blau that, it didn't have a name, and actually the owner of the NFT could put the name of the NFT, and that name actually became the name of the song on Spotify, YouTube, and so on. So that was a very dynamic NFT where the creator involved his fan base and actually created this piece of art together with his fan base. So yeah, I think this type of NFTs, where you involve the community and when you involve other people, and that the NFT is morphing and changing, I think this is going to be really, really interesting.
Yeah, I think it's an important distinction to cover, that NFTs are not only about art. In the past year, we've seen a lot of things being involved. People are even talking about fractionalized NFTs, I think, this week, which is just really exciting. It's like creating an entirely new market.
The problem with fractional NFTs is that, as you know, there's a lot of regulation in the world, and when something is fractionalized, it kind of becomes a security. And yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of issues. People haven't realized that NFTs are fractionalized are going to be securities, and yeah, that's really dangerous. Actually, the SEC can come after those people that are fractionalizing these NFTs.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, but that's a good point. But yeah, just overall, why do you think NFTs are the key to kind of solving the social good problem, or actually changing people's lives? Because a lot of projects claim to do this concept, right, which is like actually helping and actually making things move, things like identities. I don't think any of them have caught on, but yeah, what are you hoping to achieve in the next 6 months?
Yeah, I think that NFTs are giving everyone the opportunity to express themselves, and that someone else finds that valuable. Before we only had central banks creating value and telling you this has value because I say that I have value and I have a lot of guns. Right now, with NFTs, you can just create value, and if someone else around the world finds it valuable, then it has value. So like we're changing the dynamics and changing the way that we believe in value, and I think that's super interesting. We saw an NFT that was created by Edward Snowden. The NFT that he created was sold for over $5.5 million, and all of that money was given to the Freedom of the Press Foundation. I wonder who in the world is giving $5 million to the Freedom of the Press Foundation. Um, Without NFTs, like without these type of assets, I think it's actually more difficult to raise money for social good. Why? Is because there's actually two type of trends right now that are playing a huge role. The virtual signaling, like the collectors of those NFTs, they're showing that they care about the freedom of the press, or they show that they care about Snowden. And actually was a DAO that came together to buy that NFT. So people came together used to get that NFT. Maybe they have a lot of ETH, or maybe they just want to support. But yeah, I just find that super interesting because people are actually building reputation with us, by showing that they care about humanity, by showing that they care about other causes. So this is a way for people to really put their money where their mouth is, and to show that they really care about humanity, and that actually the money is being transmitted to do good for humanity. So that's what interests me the most, is because it's opening up new ways for people to create value and to support one another and kind of like become self-owned, self-sustained, and self-governed.
That's an excellent point, actually. I'm gonna go back and listen to that. But yeah, lastly, do you think things like NFTs, will it be more focused on utility kind of this year, or do you think that people will go down the marketplace route?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of people trying to enter in the space, and there are many people that just want to launch an NFT for the sake of launching an NFT and use kind of the way that I see it. I see these type of NFTs like money grabs, honestly, because they're not really creating any value for the community. They're not really, bringing people together. But there are other NFTs where communities are super vibrant. For example, the CryptoPunks community, like the way that they support one another, and also the way that they're creating value, even for their own assets, is insane. Like there are people that are creating like remixes of the NFTs, or creating videos, or creating productions using those NFTs. So like creating value beyond only the collectible part, I think is what is going to be a game changer. And yeah, it's interesting time. I think we're going to see more and more people trying to just make money out of nowhere and not really create value for their community and for their fan base as this becomes mainstream. But I think those people that do that, they have a bad reputation, because everything would be on chain. Everything would be available for people to see who did that or who didn't. And essentially, there's going to be the other trend, which is the cancel culture, that is going to play a big role here. Those are just trying to be money grabbers. So those that are not doing good for humanity most probably will be canceled. And yeah, maybe our generation is not necessarily like seeing that so fast, but younger generations, like they are taking care of the planet as much as they can. And we see these new type of influencers like Greta Thunberg and all of these new kids that are coming up, you know, that they actually want to show and display that we need to do something good for the world and for humanity. And I think this is going to be the new trend. You know, those that are doing good for the world are going to have more voice, I hope.
Yeah, I love what you just said. I think this is a great way to end things off on a very positive note and looking forward. And yeah, lastly, I just want to give you a chance to shout out, you know, any ways people can contact your project and even be in touch with you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you can find me online in any social media as Manu Alzuru. That's ManuAlzuru. And you can find about the project DoinGud is DoinGud. Instead of doing good with double O, it's just with U. And why is because we are all unique, like NFTs.
Love it. Thank you, Manu, for your time here, and I look forward to, you know, your full launch and maybe talking to you in a couple of months again.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here, Roshan, and it was a pleasure talking to you.
Sure, and those of you viewers that are still watching, stick around. We're bringing you more interviews from founders and innovators here at Reimagine 2021, and check out our full YouTube library. We have over 500 interviews to see all the great interviews we've done, and I'll let you all tune back into the show. Thank you.